Welcome to the SBCA podcast, Component Connection, where we explore the people, ideas, trends, and innovations shaping the structural framing industry. Regardless of how you touch this industry, we're glad you're here. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, this is Ashley Baker, the Director of Education for SBCA, and I'll be your host for this episode of Component Connection. I am joined by the one and only April Burt, who is with Alpine, an ITW company. April is the Customer Insights Manager at Alpine these days, although we know, anything about April, she is the jack of all trades, or the Jill of all trades, I should say. And we're going to talk a little bit about women in construction, and then we're going to tease our Women in Construction event at BCMC this year. So welcome, April.
Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate it and look forward to this session with Women in Construction.
Yeah, we're really excited. So I'm going to go back to a little point I just made, the Jill of all trades. You have been in the industry for a really long time. Take us back to the beginning. How did you first find your way into construction and what made you stay?
Okay, well, I am going to date myself right now, which is perfectly fine. But when I started, I was an architecture student back before AutoCAD really existed. They were just introducing AutoCAD into the industry.
Oh, wow.
And so I was really struggling at the time I was a pretty good student, but I was struggling with the visualization of like complex roof geometry with 3D. So it just, everything was 2D at the time. So having that visualization of 3D was a unique characteristic. But there was a local component manufacturing company, and they reached out and they were looking for a draftsperson. So my instructor encouraged me to apply, but he gave me this blunt warning. He's like, April, it's going to be a tough environment for a young lady. I don't know if you want to even apply, but I applied anyway. And so I think that I really enjoyed, the challenge of solving complex puzzles and realizing early on that I could solve a 2D drawing into a physical structure. It was really rewarding for me. And so I thought, I think I can do this and I can be pretty decent at it. And that was kind of the beginning of my career.
Wow, that's such a great story. When you think back to when you first started compared to maybe where we are today, what do you feel like maybe has changed the most for women in our industry?
I would say when I started, which was 35 plus years ago, training was basically trial by fire. There were no digital manuals. I mean, I literally hand wrote a giant manual, made my own notebook of formulas and calculations and tips that I learned from, the plant or out on a job site, field lessons. And I think, all of that manual work back at that period, if there was an issue in the plant or on a job site, I would have to go out in the plant and help, the crew at the setup table. Why doesn't this truss set up correctly in this jig? If there was a problem in the field, I had to go out in the field. And sometimes that meant bring a tape measure and, measure the distance to a bearing wall or something. So most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, I was the only woman, on a job site or in the plant, helping set up a component on a table. So I think that today, when we talk about, what's changed the most, I'd say there's two major things that have shifted. It would be technology and community. And when I talk about technology, I think about, automation and software and how it's revolutionized just how we design, how we build, and then how the industry, and I'll give a plug to SBCA, how they've created resources for education and networking opportunities. And that just didn't exist, when I started in the construction industry. So I would say women today aren't having to invent the wheel alone or in a silo. There's a community that's out there that's ready to back them up. And those are the things the two major changes I would say when I think about yesteryear and today.
That's such a great point. And I mean, I think there are so many people in our industry who are so eager to get women involved and want to see them succeed. And that kind of translates to my next question for you. I think sometimes conversations about women in construction can focus heavily on increasing the number of women entering the industry. But really getting women in the industry and creating an environment where they want to build a career are kind of two different things. What do you think makes women want to stay? Is it that community piece that you mentioned?
I think that's part of it. I think getting through the door, that's about the opportunity. Is the opportunity there and taking advantage of the opportunity? But I think staying in the industry, it's about the impact that we make. And I think it's women tend to look at challenges through kind of a wide angle lens. We have a tendency to not just look at the broken piece right in front of us, but we have a tendency to look left and to look right. It's kind of our nature. And, why did this happen? What upstream process could I, potentially change to make sure this doesn't happen again? And I think that when organizations give women that kind of that runway to solve these systematic problems and make a difference, it's not just a job, like you're building something meaningful. There's a sense of ownership. And I think the impact that we make is what helps us kind of stick around long term, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the ownership piece is something that really gives people a sense of purpose almost.
Exactly.
Well, you've had the benefit of seeing the industry through different stages in your career. What do you wish more leaders, maybe especially company owners, managers, understood about supporting and developing women within their organizations?
That's a good question. I would say, I think just recognizing that problem solving skills are transferable. And, it's not just a single problem, but the skill to look at things through that different lens and that can be transferable to a lot of different roles. And I think that the other thing that happened early in my career that I would encourage is to push when you recognize that skill in someone, to push people into roles maybe before they feel 100% ready. And kind of an example of that would be like early in my career, I had some great leaders who trusted, my ability to solve problems. And they handed me opportunities that maybe I was a little hesitant to take on, as far as maybe on paper, I just didn't feel like maybe I was ready. But it would be great if we can get leaders to kind of look past that rigid checkbox. Do they check every box? And really look more about, high capacity problem solvers. And if a woman shows that, that curiosity, that skill, that grit, advocate for her and give her the room to step up. So that's kind of maybe what I wish more leaders would offer.
Right. So the point there, right? Mentors, advocates, or even just you've got the right person in your corner, really pushing and recognizing something that you may not even see in yourself.
Exactly. That is sometimes we need people to point out, some of the skills that we have that we may not even recognize. So that's
right.
Good point.
When you have this incredibly varied experience and that grit, that perseverance, tackling these challenges head on, problem solving, when you look at the next generation of women entering the industry, what opportunities do you see for them that maybe didn't exist when you started out?
I would say, I'm going to go back kind of to your answer, Ashley, or your point about mentors and advocates. Look for people that can help you kind of navigate those uncharted territories and learn from great leaders, like observe how they communicate, how do they handle pressure? How do they build teams? And find good mentors, men or women, that will help accelerate you in your career and help you grow. When we think about the advancements in technology, right now, I would say innovation is unprecedented. And the advancements we've made over the past, I would say the last 5 years, over the previous 25 years are incredible, which means the job that you start today won't look anything like the role you have in 5 or 10 years. Right. I would say, my advice to maybe that next generation would be define what excellence looks like early in your career and then raise the bar. Like, don't just look at the problem that's right in front of you. Seek out maybe some of the hidden inefficiencies and be proactive and try to solve those and understand the ripple effect that you make on the entire business and in the industry, and work on maybe coming up with some solutions to problems that haven't even been, brought to your attention. That's kind of, I would say that would be my, when I think about the next generations and the opportunities that are out there, don't try to think about what your opportunity is going to be in 10 years from now. Make a difference today, and the opportunities are going to come up. And with technology advancements, it's just going to be fun to watch people that are early in their career that stick with this industry and where it's going to take them.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought 6-7 years ago that AI would be what it is today?
Right? Oh, yeah. Or even 3 years ago. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. That evolution. So really being able to adapt and be flexible and persevere is so important. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit and talk about our Women in Construction event at BCMC. Perhaps a little tease here. So you're going to lead this session for us, and we are so excited. Who should attend this event?
I would say everyone. And while the spotlight's going to be on women in construction or women in our industry, really the room is for anyone who you might be an owner, a manager, a male peer, or just, an emerging leader. I think that really we as an industry are, and I know individual organizations are focused on this, but I think that it's so critical to attract and retain top talent. And it's not just a woman issue. It's fundamental, it's a fundamental business, need, and it's imperative to growth in our industry. So I think if you care about building, high performance teams or advocating for, talented people to step up, then you belong in the room.
And I think that's one of the most critical aspects. And I think that's something that those who have attended the event in years prior have really understood, that yes, we're highlighting women in construction, but even at the event this year, there will be 2 male panelists who are going to be joining us and talking about their experience working with women and serving in some of those mentor advocate type of roles as well. So with that said, maybe give us a little teaser. What's one question or issue or maybe an idea that you think might spark a really interesting conversation at the event?
Sure. First of all, I just want to thank you for having a couple men on the panel. I think it's just a wonderful addition, and I'm really interested to kind of hear their perspective on some of these topics. But I would say when it comes back to the kind of a teaser for that session, I would want people in the room to maybe reflect on 2 questions. And number 1 is, what is the distinct value that you bring to your organization every day? And number 2 would be, when your name is mentioned in a room that you're not in, what's the exact problem that people know you can solve? Those would be my 2 ideas or questions.
And I think anybody listening is going, whoa. They're going to be excited to hear what you've got to say, what the gentlemen on the panel have to say. And of course, thinking through that's a lot, I think, for them to consider, and is so important, right? We all know the importance of what some of those answers obviously can lead to. So, well, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm so looking forward to the Women in Construction event. For those of you out there listening, the Women in Construction event happens on a Wednesday, and this year it will actually be during lunch, so 12 to 1. So come grab a bite. Listen to April and 2 of the additional panelists who are going to be sharing their expertise, their insights. And yeah, I think we're really excited, and we're looking forward to hosting a fantastic event.
Thank you, Ashley. I look forward to BCMC and especially, of course, this breakout session. So look forward to seeing everyone there.
No, fantastic. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Component Connection, brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore in the future, please email us at podcast@sbcacomponents.com.
Thanks for listening to Component Connection, brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore in a future episode, email us at podcast@sbcacomponents.com.